Hey, I'm Matt Hess with Power Home Remodeling Group, and welcome to this edition of You're Gonna Love Where You Live. Today, we're gonna be installing a roof project, and I'm here to show you the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it, and the way that Power does it. So this year at Power, we're gonna install thousands of re-roofing systems for homeowners, making us one of the largest residential re-roofing companies on the East Coast. Now, with those types of numbers comes a couple really important things. Number one, we got to make sure that we're installing the job the right way. And number two, we've got to be teamed up with a manufacturer that can give us the guidance and manufacture products that are going to go up on that roof and stay there virtually forever. So we brought our friends with us from GAF here today. GAF, being the leader in the industry, has really helped us grow as a company to get where we are today. So let's go talk to GAF and see about these products that we're going to be putting on the roof today. Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Excellent.
Good. So let me ask you a question. Why GAF?
Well, GAF, I mean, it's many reasons. To highlight some of the key points about GAF, we're North America's largest roofing manufacturer. We've been in business over 125 years.
Wow.
Yeah, excellent story. And we offer a full, complete system of roof shingles and roof system components. Unlike other companies out there that may offer individual components or just the roofing shingle, we offer you the whole package.
Awesome. So it's kind of like a car coming off an assembly line from start to finish.
Exactly.
Everything that's going on that roof is a GAF component.
Exactly.
Great, Jeff. Well, thanks for coming out today. I tell you what, let's get up on the roof. Let's meet our job foreman and let's see these products get installed. How's it going, Tarek?
Good. How about you, Matt?
Good. You guys are doing a great job out here today.
Thank you.
Cool. So I have a couple questions for you. You've been working for Power for a really long time. What's it like being a project manager, and what do you do when you're out here at a customer's house?
It's fantastic working for Power, and being a project manager, you're just making sure the guys are following procedure every step of the way. The homeowner will come to you if they have any questions. You know, when we're at their house explaining what we're doing before we come out weeks prior to doing the job, sometimes it's a lot for a homeowner to take in. So when I'm here, if they want to pull me aside and say, hey, how does the drip edge get installed? How's the ice and water shield get installed? I'm here to help educate them. That's
awesome. Well, it certainly is a big job. There certainly are a lot of components to doing this the right way. It's definitely not just shingles over top of shingles. So let's dive into some of those components and let's take a look and see what it is that we're going to be installing.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about one of the biggest problems that we see in the industry. You know, it's contractors putting shingles right over top of existing shingles, and that's a big problem. It's a problem for two reasons. Number one, condensation builds up on the underside of every building material that's on the exterior of your home. So condensation builds up underneath the shingles, it builds up underneath your siding, and it builds up underneath your capping around and trim work around your home. For example, if I take a Frisbee and I throw it out into your front yard and I leave it there overnight, come back the next morning and pick up that Frisbee, it's going to be covered in dew on the underside. So when you're installing a roof or any other type of building material, it's really important to get down to the base layer, to the foundation of the roof, so that the products can work properly in getting condensation and dew out from underneath of them. Because, you know, if you trap it in there, you're going to run into issues like rotten wood and mildew and mold, which are health hazards. So for example, if I take a look at this shingle, this is the GAF Ultra HD shingle with the lifetime warranty. It's non-prorated for 50 years. If I look at the back side of this shingle has a tar strip on the bottom of it. And what that tar strip is designed to do is seal the shingle down to the one below it. So if I grab one of these existing shingles and pull, you can see it's pulling the shingle below it. There's a tar strip underneath of this that has it sealed down. If you look at the tar strip, it's spotted, or it's got areas where there is no tar. And the reason why it's done that way or made that way is to allow any condensation buildup on the back side of it to drain out. A good place for it to dry out so that we don't get moisture and mildew and mold problems building up underneath this shingle. If I take a roof and I put it right over top of an existing, now I'm doubling the layers and trapping that moisture and dew that builds up underneath of it, and that can just be a major problem down the road. The second problem is if we don't take it off, we don't know what the foundation looks like underneath of this. Now we've been up here walking around on this roof and boy, it seems good and solid, but the real telltale sign is going to be when we get these shingles off of here. Let's take a look. We've got this deck ripped and it's shown some things that we talked about. What's felt really strong and solid when we were walking over top of the shingles has exposed all kinds of issues, delaminating. Now this is going to happen for a couple reasons. Number one, what's happening here is we've got an exhaust vent, and this exhaust vent just wasn't flashed properly, which caused a bit of a leak and has caused this plywood to delaminate. The second thing that can cause plywood to delaminate, what I mean by delaminate is plywood is made up of a whole bunch of layers of thinner pieces of wood, and those layers start to peel apart. Another cause of delaminating plywood is not having the house ventilated properly. You know, if the attic is getting too hot, the glue in between these layers of plywood starts to come apart, and it allows this plywood to just peel right up. That certainly isn't a strong foundation and something that we wouldn't want to drive a nail through, or certainly something that we couldn't expect to drive a nail through and have the shingles stay there forever. You know, if we're going to put on a roof that's going to last for the lifetime of the home, we got to have a solid, strong foundation. So we're going to get the boys cranked up here, and we're going to go ahead and get all this wood replaced with some strong 1/2-inch CDX plywood so that we know that we've got a roof that's not going anywhere, certainly for the rest of the lifetime of this home. All right, well, we got all that bad wood out of here. We've got a brand new decking down, 1/2-inch CDX ply. We've got a good solid foundation to run these lifetime shingles on. You know, if you're going to put a lifetime system on top, we need something underneath that's going to be good and strong. So one of the biggest mistakes that roofers make is when you've got a chimney at the bottom edge of a slope like this, that's an area where a whole lot of water coming down off of this ridge is going to get caught. What Andre is going to do here is he's going to make something custom called a cricket, where we're actually going to build up the roof behind that chimney so that as water comes off this surface, it's going to hit this bump that he's putting behind it, or a cricket, and run off to either side. That way we know it's not going to leak. So the first thing that we've got to get on is a drip edge. That's a piece of metal that goes down at the very base or surrounding the perimeter of the roof. This is a C 4.5-inch drip edge, and you can see the profile on it. What it's designed to do is shed water off of the deck of the roof and over the edge, protecting this whole lower section of wood right here. You know, water's kind of funny how it can wick and absorb into things. If we just laid shingles right over top of this lower edge, water's eventually going to wick down in under behind them and damage all of this wood right here. So by using a piece of drip edge and sealing off that bottom side, that problem goes away. Our ice and water shield is down. That's this black layer that you see coming from the bottom edge of the roof up 36 inches. Now this is a really important part of the roof, and it's because we live in a climate that we're very prone to getting ice damming on a house. That's when in this wintertime it snows, and then the snow's sitting on your roof, and then the heat from the house starts to melt the snow. But once we get down to this portion of the roof right here, there's no more heat from house anymore, so it starts to freeze, and you get the ice buildup on this lower part of the roof. As water keeps coming down, that ice causes a dam, and water builds and builds and builds, and finally it can actually run back underneath the shingles. Well, we've got a big 36-inch layer of protection down here around the edges, so that if any ice damming were to occur, this home's protected from it. But we don't stop there. If you can see, we've actually taken this ice and water shield and we've lined the entire perimeter of this roof. It goes across the eaves, or where the gutters are. It's going to go up each rake edge, or in the gables, the peaks of the roof. It's going to come across the bottom, around the chimney, in the valleys, and the whole way back around. So this house is protected, and that's exactly what we want. So now we're getting our underlayment down. That's the product that goes underneath the shingles that protects the deck from moisture. We're putting down GAF's Deck Armor, which is a very high performance underlayment. It's really cool for two reasons. Number one, it's extremely strong and sturdy, and we can walk on it without worrying about ripping it up and tearing it. Number two, it's completely permeable. What that means is that water vapor can actually pass through it. You know, a family living in a house that takes showers and cooks meals creates a lot of moisture vapor. That moisture vapor typically passes through your ceilings into your attic and gets stuck with an underlayment like tar paper, or that old black stuff that we used to put under roofing. Well, this is the newest technology. It's just like Gore-Tex for your roof. It allows the moisture that's coming underneath the shingles from dew and things of that nature to stop and not penetrate into the deck, but it allows moisture vapor to pass through, just like a high-performance ski jacket. So we're getting this house all dried in. We're almost ready to run shingles. Okay, so we're just about to run shingles. Now, before we do so, we've got to do just a couple last little things to prepare for them. The first thing that we've got to do is put down our starter shingle, right? So a starter shingle is really important because this is the shingle that we're going to be installing today. It's the GAF Ultra HD shingle. But if you look, when shingles come down to the edge of a roof and they join together, there's a place where there's a seam, and that seam is right there. And what we want to do is make sure that as water's coming down, we're catching any water that's coming through that seam and running it into the gutter. We don't want to 100% rely on the ice and water shield and the drip edge below it. We want to rely on a shingle. So you've got to use a starter shingle. Now, what most guys do, because it's really cheap and really easy, is they'll take a normal 3-tab shingle. Could be one of the shingles that they just ripped off of your house. They're going to take that shingle and they're going to flip it upside down. Now, by flipping it upside down, you can see I don't have any seams. I've got one long solid stretch of shingle here. Then I take my new architecturals and I bring them down over top, put them together, and you can see now where the shingle is seamed together, I've got shingle underneath of it to catch that water, and I'm not relying on my underlayments, right? Problem. If you look at where a shingle has to be nailed, it's got to be nailed in a nailing line. You can't nail a shingle high, you can't nail a shingle low. This shingle has to be nailed through that tar strip right there in the middle. It's the only place that can actually hold a nail without it ripping through. So when I put this on and I nail it here, and then I bring my shingles down over top of it, here and here, you can see our GAF Ultra shingles are lined with a nail strip right there. When the shingle below it is nailed here, and the shingle above it is nailed here, and the wind blows, look at all that movement I have. So GAF got really crafty. They developed the GAF's Pro Start starter strip. It's designed specifically for starting shingles, and this is a piece of it right here. If you look at this Pro Start shingle, it's got a nailing flange on the back side, a laminated strip to hold that nail nice and tight without allowing it to pull through. If you look at the front side, it's got a long strip of the Dortrex adhesive that's like a glue, a super glue that holds shingles together. So when we come in, we're going to pull this starter shingle down over the edge about 3/4 of an inch. Then we're going to drive our nails right through that nailing strip down low where it's fastened close to the edge. Then when we bring our new shingles down in, the Dortrex adhesive strip here matches up with the Dortrex adhesive grip on the back side. It goes on, it gets nailed into place. This goes on, it gets nailed into place. I've solved my problem of water leaking through the seams, and because the Dortrex is nailed close to the edge, this is now my wind load resistance. That's how we can give a 130-mile-an-hour wind warranty, and we know this roof's not going to end up in your neighbor's yard after a summer night thunderstorm. So we're running our shingles and this project is really starting to move. But if you take a look over my shoulder, you can see up the edge of the gable here, the peak of the house. We've taken that same GAF Pro Start starter strip that we used down at the gutter line, and we're running it up the edge. Now the side of your house is the part that is most prone for wind blow off, right? Because we've got wind whistling through the yard, it slams into the side of your house and off your shingles go. By using that GAF Pro Start starter strip with that Dortrex adhesive on it and it's attached close to the end, it's really gluing those shingles at the edge of your roof down to prevent blow off so your shingles don't end up in your neighbor's yard. Now, it obviously is an extra added piece that we're using with the system, and it takes a little bit more time to install it, but it's the right way to do it. All right, so what Andre's doing behind me is step flashing this wall, another critical point to keep water out of your house. So where shingles meet a wall, water can roll off the edge of those shingles and run right into your wall. Now, when we opened up this roof, we found that the homeowner's siding project was installed incorrectly, so we had to go ahead and fix it. What we're doing is we're installing a piece of step flashing and then running a shingle over top of it, and then another piece of step flashing, and then another shingle over top of it. So as water runs off of the edge of the shingle, it's catching the edge of the step flashing and running down into the gutter, not into the siding and into the house like it was before we got here. Okay, so we've got the shingles on this side of the house completely done. The only thing left to do is to finish off this ridge. Now, when we started out this roof project, we saw that we were tearing up the shingles, the wood decking was pulling apart with the shingle. And that's because the attic had gotten too hot and stayed hot for too long. that wood started to delaminate. The glue between the layers of wood comes apart. So a really important part of doing a roof job is making sure that we've got proper ventilation in the attic. That means good intake ventilation through the soffits or the bottom part of the house where air can draw in, and cutting open a ridge vent. So you can see what we've done here is we've opened up the top of this ridge, and I can stick my hand the whole way down into the attic. Now as hot air builds up in that attic, hot air wants to rise, right? So as hot air rises, we've cut an opening that air can get out of, causing cooler air to draw in lower and cycle that attic air, keeping the temperature down and making this roof last forever. Unfortunately, I can't just leave an opening in the top of the roof. I do have to close it off, so we're going to close it off with GAF's Cobra Ridge Vent. And this is a rolled ridge vent. It's a porous material that air can pass through with no problem. This is going to be rolled out from end to end, right across the ridge, like so. And then it's got to be covered, because it's not waterproof, with a cap shingle over top of it, and that's how we keep the water out. So the air can escape, but the water can't get in. Now here's where most guys will cut a corner. This is that same typical 3-tab shingle that was on the house before, and it's very cheap and easy to get. And what most guys are going to do is they're going to take this shingle, they're going to cut it, and then lay this over top of the caps or over top of the ridge vent to keep the water out. If I roll my ridge vent out over the ridge like so, to let the hot air escape, then I take this cap shingle and lay it over top, or a 3-tab, that's going to keep the water out. The problem is the peak of the roof is going to take all the rain, all the wind, and all the beating from Mother Nature. So putting just a really tiny, flimsy 3-tab shingle on top is really not the best thing to do for the part of the roof that's going to take the brunt of the weather. So what we use is GAF's TimberTex cap shingles. This is a big, beefy cap shingle that's designed to sit on top of this ridge and take all of that weather. It's got 3 layers to it. It's got a base layer, a cap layer, and an architectural layer. This 3rd layer on the top allows one cap shingle to sit over the top, causing a stepping action across the ridge, which casts a nice shadow. It looks strong, it looks sturdy, it looks natural, and it will be there forever. This chimney was a place where water was leaking for this homeowner before we got here. And we found that it didn't have a cricket behind it. We built up the back side to allow water to run off to either side of it. And it just wasn't flashed correctly. So what we've done is we've installed apron flashing at the base, a cricket at the top, and step flashing up the sides. You can also see our ice and water shield is running 5 inches up the side of this chimney. Now that's keeping the water that's on the roof, coming down the roof, out away from this opening, and keeping water from being able to get back up underneath and creating that leak issue again. Now this is where a lot of guys will stop, and then they'll just take silicone or caulk and seal in around the top side of this to prevent rain from coming out of the sky from getting back in there and leaking that direction. We got to take this one step further. If we're going to expect that this roof to last forever and never to leak, what we're going to do is we're going to grind in right here across this chalk line that you can see that my man Gilbert just put in. We're going to put an groove in this chimney, and then we're going to put a cap or a counter flash over top of it that returns into that groove, which is then sealed off. That's the proper way to do it. It takes a little bit more time to do it this way. You can see 2 guys have been working on it for a while, but we know that when we leave, this chimney's not going to leak. Okay, so we're here. We've got the chimney cut in, ground in the whole way around. We've got the step flashing up the side, the ice and water shield behind it, and here's our finished counter flash product on the bottom. You can see how it seats real nice in that groove. So as water's coming out of the sky, it's staying on the outside of all that flashing that we put in to prevent water from getting in around the deck. We're just going to work up the sides and across the top, and we're all done and call it a wrap. Wow! All right, we're all done, and what a great day. So the roof is installed, and the homeowner's happy, and it looks great. Next, we've got to register this warranty.
Absolutely.
Now Power has the highest level of certification available from GAF.
Correct.
And that allows us to give homeowners kind of an extra special supercharged warranty, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Power home remodeling being at the top level of certification from GAF, factory trained, factory certified, Power is able to offer, system warranties and coverage that the average roofer out there is not able to even offer. As I mentioned, in terms of warranty, the installation that was done today is going to be part of the System Plus warranty offered by Power and GAF, and that's going to cover a lifetime warranty on all the components, the labor, and it also includes tear-offs if something was to go wrong. So it's a pretty impressive elite warranty that just not every installer could offer.
So we're finished up, we're done, and this homeowner is never ever going to have to worry about that roof anymore.
Absolutely.
So I guess that the roof is on the homeowner's house, but we're married to it now, right?
Exactly.
GAF and Power. And folks at home, that wraps it up for this edition of You're Gonna Love Where You Live. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call at 888-REMODEL or visit us at 888remodel.com. Thanks a lot, folks, and we'll be talking to you soon.